What's up, guys? Chase Oliver 68 here, bringing you my UFC 157 recap and results. The main event was Ronda Rousey versus Liz Camouche, the first ever women's fight in the UFC. But before we get to that, we got some other shit on the card. Anyways, we got Lawler, Ruthless Lawler, making his re-debut back to the UFC. He fought back in the old days of the UFC, Robbie Lawler. He fought a long time ago in the UFC. Had a really bright career ahead of him, and then all of a sudden just like got stuck in this like terrible rut. And then he went on to fight for Elite XC when that was still around, and Strikeforce, and really had an up and down, career outside of the UFC, but he was able to come back, and he's fighting at welterweight, taking on against Josh Koscheck, who, according to the UFC database, is number 8 contender for the welterweight title, or the number 8 welterweight in the world. I don't know what those numbers are about. I don't know all the listing. If you guys can link me to the listing of all the contenders for the UFC and what their numbers are, please do. I know there's Sherdog. I know there's all those other websites, but I'm talking about what the UFC uses as their listing. But anyways, Josh Koscheck taking on Robbie Lawler. Now, Josh Koscheck needed to win this fight to keep his job. And that there's no denying that. Recently, we saw John Fitch get cut, and everyone was freaking out about it. And then I saw Dana White's interview, and I understood what he was saying. That guys have come back to the UFC. That they have 100 more guys. They're over the cap of how many guys they can have in that goddamn company. And then you also got to look in that they're trying to find more flyweights, more bantamweights, and more featherweights, and more women bantamweight fighters to come in to this product so those divisions can grow. Of course, some of the welterweights, middleweights, heavyweights, light heavyweights, and all those other divisions that haven't been doing shit, guys are going to get cut from there. And Josh Koscheck really needed to win here. Otherwise, he could have said, see ya, bye. Now, the fight was okay. Josh Koscheck was pretty much dominating most of the first round until Robbie Lawler got a nice reverse on him. And then Robbie Lawler started to strike him down. And a lot of people said it was kind of a premature stoppage. But for me personally, I thought it was a fair stoppage. I didn't think that it was premature, because Koscheck just didn't look like he was fighting back. You have to fight back. He wasn't defending himself well at all. He was taking straight punches to the face. He was taking straight punches to the face. He wasn't defending himself. He was just laying there. Like, he wasn't even trying to get his hand up. It wasn't like Brock Lesnar, Shane Carwin, where most of Shane Carwin's fists were hitting his hand. No, they were just right into the face. So I don't understand why some people were saying Koscheck got screwed here when he wasn't defending himself well enough to really show he wanted to stay in the fight. Robbie Lawler wins in the upset, and we move on forward. Court McGee makes his welterweight debut after losing a fight to Nick Rain, controversially, in the middleweight division. He decides, hey, I'm going down to welterweight. Josh Neer said, hey, I'm down to fight you, so they're going to fight. The original fight on this card was supposed to be Chad Mendes and Manny Gambarian, but Gambarian got injured, and since the UFC is so low on featherweights, really, they couldn't find a replacement in time for that would even put up a good fight against Chad Mendes, so they took him off the card, and they just moved these two up. But Josh Neer and Court McGee, really, to be honest here, this fight was okay at best. I thought Court McGee looked good the first round with those body shots, but then afterwards, Court McGee just didn't look good. Josh Neer ended up, coming back, and that's hilarious. Josh Neer coming back after what we saw Court McGee do in the first round. It's kind of shocking to me. It shows McGee's conditioning is maybe up there for questioning. Maybe the cut was too rough on him. Maybe that's why his conditioning was not all there. But still, there is no reason why Josh Neer should be coming back from this fight. Court McGee, goddamn, all these ears. Court McGee ended up winning the fight via unanimous decision, 30-27, 30-28. You know the idea. Up next, the bantamweight fight between Uriah Faber and Ivan Menjivar. I'm just going to say here, Faber dominated Menjivar. Menjivar was nowhere near Faber's level whatsoever. And Faber got him in a nice rear naked choke that was fucking legit. It was a legit rear naked choke. So which means we're going to see Uriah Faber fight the winner of Dominic Cruz and Renan Barão. For Faber's sake, he's hoping Barão does not win, because Barão will just kick his ass again. Dominic Cruz, it's 50-50 between those two. But yeah, Faber wins. And also Faber wanted to win too, so he doesn't get cut, because he has just been very disappointing in the title scene. You know what's funny? Faber is 6-0 in non-title fights, but he's 0-5 in title fights. Why not just have him fight these guys with the title on the line, but not call it a title fight. Just say it's a non-title fight, so that way Faber doesn't get, too amped up, doesn't become too boring. Because you guys notice when Faber is in non-title fights, he's more exciting to watch. If you go watch his previous title fights, Faber has been so fucking boring. He has been so boring in title fights. But in non-title fights, Faber looks fucking good. You always think that he always puts on excitingness in non-title fights. That's just me. I feel that in title fights he psychs himself out too much to the point where he can't win. Oh, great. Up next is Lyoto Machida versus Dan Henderson. Lyoto Machida, ranked number 2 in the UFC system, and Dan Henderson ranked number 1 in the UFC system. Dan Henderson's coming off a long layoff from a knee injury. And also, I noticed that Dan Henderson wasn't using any TRT in this fight because he didn't look as chiseled as he normally does. Maybe he felt like it would be kind of useless to use it because he's also mixing in medical attention, like medicine for his knees. So maybe that's why he didn't use TRT. I don't know. But Machida, Dan Henderson, I love chess matches, but this was overplayed. Oh my God. Machida just did this the whole fight. He was like this. This is Machida. Like, what the hell are you doing, man? I understand Machida's a counter fighter. I understand he is a counter fighter. But seriously, the whole time, just stood there. And Henderson was just like, man, dude. Trying to land that H-bomb. Like, it was a rather disappointing fight, in my opinion. It was a overplayed chess match. Machida did not look aggressive at all. Ever since, Shogun Rua, Machida has been too defensive. And when he faces a fighter who is as intelligent as Dan Henderson, Dan Henderson's not going to fall for your trick of, he's not Randy Couture. Randy Couture is always ultra aggressive. That's how Randy Couture fights. Dan Henderson is not ultra aggressive. Dan Henderson is only ultra aggressive when he knows he has the opponent staggered and injured. But Lyoto Machida, he is not ultra aggressive unless he sees a weak spot. He's like one of those people that, you see in movies. They do those, and then, the limbs go numb. That's what Machida tries to do. He tries to find spots to weaken these people. He does not get aggressive, and it's enough. Dan Henderson lost this fight via split decision, and I find that ridiculous. Last time I checked, isn't octagon control a part of the judging? So if Machida is taking 5 steps back against the cage and slides to the side, wouldn't that mean Dan Henderson has more control of the octagon because he's making Machida go those directions? He's making sure Machida does not move anywhere else? I'm pretty sure that's part of octagon control. But in all honesty here, this fight was unimpressive. I don't know why Machida is going to be our number 1 contender if he's going to fight like this ever again. I mean, don't fight like this, man. He needs to be more aggressive. Ever since Shogun Rua, he's just been too afraid to be aggressive because he knows that his chin is not all that tough. He knows that when a guy like a Dan Henderson and when a guy like a John Jones and a guy like fucking Shogun Rua with big striking power is coming his way, Machida's just doing this. If he's fighting someone that he knows that can't knock him out, you'll see Machida be aggressive. But if he fights like this against Jones or, heaven forbid, somehow he fucking wins a fight Sonnen, I would not give Machida a chance. Because he fought so poorly tonight. And Dan Henderson, he did not even look even better. It just shows that Dan Henderson was just not ready. And now it's like, oh yeah, what if John Jones fought this Dan Henderson? Oh my God. How terrible would that be? Dan Henderson would be chow fu. John Jones would have killed this Dan Henderson. He would have killed him. I don't want to hear anyone say, no, Dan Henderson would have beat him. Not this Dan Henderson. Maybe Dan Henderson before the knee injury and off TRT, or before knee injury and on TRT, yeah, but this Dan Henderson looked pathetic. Both these guys looked unimpressive to me. And I feel Gustafsson, Alexander, deserves the title shot over both these guys. None of these guys, to me, deserves a title shot. That's just me. I just don't think Lyoto was impressive enough to say, I am your number 1 contender. Number 1 contenders to me are like Gustafsson, who do shit that impress me. Not guys who, let me do the shake, let me do a dance. And it's funny. I see MMA fans sometimes backing up Machida, yet his partner, Anderson Silva, did the same thing with Damian Maia. Well, Anderson, I get it was more disrespectful, but yet no people think Machida was disrespectful in this whole thing. Come on, guys. It was just ridiculous. Machida wins. I thought Henderson won this fight, in all honesty, mainly because of octagon control. But hey, whatever. Moving on forward to the main event, the main attraction, the first ever UFC Women's Championship fight. Yes, I know there's been women's fighting in Strikeforce. I know there's been women's fighting in Japan. But for the UFC's sake, this is the first time ever. And so, Ronda Rousey took on Liz Camouche. Liz Camouche, really, to be honest, not a lot of people gave her a chance. And I'm being dead honest when I say that. A lot of people said that Ronda Rousey was just going to kill her, destroy her, that they want to see her face Cyborg. And to me personally, I feel that, yes, Rousey is dominating. Yes, Rousey is a great fighter. But let's not just disown any opponent that's not named Cyborg facing her. That's ridiculous to me. Ronda Rousey is a great fighter, don't get me wrong. But let's not just say that all her other opponents suck compared to her. Because you never know. And Liz Camouche, bravo to her. She had a great showing. Even though, she didn't win. Ronda Rousey won via submission armbar in the first round like all her other fights. But Liz Camouche almost pulled off the impossible. And my heart was like, holy shit. Dana White's pants were about to shit. And Rousey somehow lost. Dana White was going to be upset. He would fake a smile to give the belt to Liz Camouche, make up some bullshit in the press conference, and then once he gets out of the press conference, he's like this. Yeah, anyways, no more women fighting in the MMA. Ronda Rousey lost. Like, he would have been pissed if Ronda Rousey would have lost that fight. But Liz Camouche put on a great showing. Ronda Rousey both put on a great showing. And showing to all these people, women can fight in MMA. Women, Ronda Rousey could probably be half the... No, I wouldn't go that far. This is not like... But maybe a shitty bantamweight, but... Great fight. I thought it was a great fight for the women's bantamweight title. I really thought that both of these women did a great job showing us that the women do belong in the sport and that the sport is evolving to something bigger and better. Love it. Just an awesome main event. And overall, it's my fight of the night. That was my fight of the night. I give submission of the night to Faber. Oh, no, actually, no, I don't give submission of the night to Faber. I gave it to, who was that? It was, they showed this fight again. It was like the most hilarious submission I've ever seen. It was like Kenny Robertson. They showed it on the main card. He got this weird-ass knee bar that I've never seen before. It was like when Bill Davis has the Wonder Lock, the Wonderful Lock, or whatever he calls it. That was a submission of the night. But in terms of main card, I'm going to give the submission of the night to Faber. Knockout of the night on the main card. All these awards go to the main card. Well, Robbie Lawler was the only one with the knockout of the night. And my fight of the night was Ronda Rousey and Liz Camouche. My losers of the night are both Dan Henderson and Lyoto Machida for underperforming to hell. That was a bad performance by both of those men. Anyways, that's it for my UFC recap and results. If you guys like me, you can subscribe by clicking the little icon right here. Comment down below your thoughts on the UFC 157 card. And up next, UFC on FX. Stan versus Bandolero the Axe Murderer Silver. That's right. I'm not the UFC. I'm not sleeping on my free TV cards. I'm making sure to promote those. Fuck that UFC 158. In the commercials. The fight we've all been waiting for. No. GSP and Nick Diaz is not the fight we've been waiting for. We want to see Anderson Silva versus GSP. God damn it. That's the fight everyone is waiting for. Peace.